The Star Wars Expanded Universe is one of the richest, deepest, and most beloved storytelling continuities in science fiction history. Decades before Disney, before reboots, before streaming shows and cinematic universes became the norm, this was the Star Wars galaxy outside the films, built through novels, comics, video games, tabletop guides, role-playing sourcebooks, encyclopedias, and more. The Expanded Universe didn't just continue the story, it, like its name suggested, expanded the galaxy in every direction. This was a universe where Han and Leia had a family, where Luke rebuilt the Jedi Order from scratch, where ancient Sith empires rose and fell thousands of years before the films, and where entirely new alien cultures, star systems, governments, Force philosophies, and galactic wars shaped the destiny of the galaxy over thousands of years of history. For many fans, the Expanded Universe was Star Wars. It was the playground where creatives took risks, tried new ideas, and built myth. It introduced characters who became icons, like Mara Jade, Kyle Katarn, Darth Revan, Asajj Ventress in her original form, Jacen, Jaina, Anakin Solo, Starkiller, Prince Xizor, and so many others. It wasn't always perfect, but it was alive, written by dozens of authors who each contributed to a shared, consistent continuum. But today, things are different. The EU is still widely loved by some who know about it, but continuity itself is suspended, not advancing, not eradicated, but not being continued. Which raises the question, what is the state of the Expanded Universe as of 2025? Even though the Expanded Universe isn't continuing with new canon stories, it's very much alive, thanks in large part to reprints. Many EU novels were out of print for years, some nearly impossible to find without paying collector prices, but now, publishers are gradually bringing these back. The biggest effort in this is the Star Wars Essential Legends collection, which has been steadily re-releasing Expanded Universe novels in a fresh trade paperback format with brand new cover art. Titles like the Thrawn Trilogy, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command, the Darth Bane Trilogy, Kenobi, Shatterpoint, Darth Plagueis, Rogue Squadron, and so many others have returned to the shelves, often with updated typesetting. It's great that these Essential Legends collection is happening, but the covers are usually more inferior to the previous covers. The art is usually a lesser thing, which is a shame. And they do have a tendency to, if you open the book and there's like recommends various Star Wars books, it's Disney canon stuff, not other EU books, which is a huge shame. These releases aren't just reprints, they're signals. Signals that publishers know the Expanded Universe still sells, that fans still want these stories, that the demand is not only still alive, but growing among new readers discovering the EU for the first time. And it's not just books. Audiobooks are being re-recorded with new narrators. Some books that were abridged are now getting unabridged versions. Some soundtracks and art books from the era are being scanned, restored, or re-uploaded digitally. The Expanded Universe is in a phase of preservation. Its stories are being kept available, not allowed to fade. As reprints come back and discussion grows, more fans are rediscovering some of the EU's strongest works. For many, a major entry point has been the X-Wing Rogue Squadron series by Michael Stackpole, grounded, tactical, character-driven fighter pilot series in Star Wars, the Wraith Squadron series by Aaron Alston, also a fighter pilot story in Star Wars, but it's a little more funny, emotionally rich, and the squad drama storytelling is just superb. You got Darth Plagueis by James Luceno, which is a fantastic deep dive into the Sith, setting up the political aspect for Palpatine's empire, and you learn more about Palpatine and Plagueis, his master. Shadows of the Empire, a book that was part of a massive multimedia project that included everything but a movie. Soundtrack, toys, comics, video game. There was even a new comic released post being decanonized, and that was Star Wars Marvel 108, which was released in 2019, and it served as a surprise continuation of the original Marvel comic from the 70s and 80s, specifically honoring the EU continuity. It was a love letter, and fans noticed. This resurgence is not accidental, it is because the stories just hold up, even today. Let's be honest, there have been attempts to bring EU ideas into the current Disney canon, but the results are often pretty bad. Characters like Thrawn, for example, who is probably the most well-known example, he did return, and while many fans do appreciate seeing him again, his portrayal in the newer material lacks the nuance, menace, and, I think most importantly, the strategic genius that he had in the EU stories. Another example, the name Revan has appeared occasionally, but without the depth and the person. It's just a name that they've thrown out in a few sources. In Rise of Skywalker, one of the battalions of Sith troopers is named the Revan Battalion. They're named after Sith Lord. Yeah, lame stuff like that. The new EU references are just surface level, and that's about it. There's never really any full depth, and if they bring a character back or an event, it's just a weaker, lesser version. Disney canon, on the other hand, it's just quite simply a lesser continuity than the EU. They retcon things all the time and overwrite things. The books and comics essentially don't matter, because if someone doing a TV show or a movie wants to tell that character's story, then they'll just ignore the previous material that maybe was in a book or a comic and just do whatever they want. And in the EU, it really wasn't like that. Yes, the EU has errors and had to have retcons. It existed for decades. There's naturally going to be issues with the continuity. You have so many people working on it, and for the most part, I feel like they did a pretty good job of addressing those issues. But with the Disney canon, it hasn't existed for nearly as long, but I would say it has more errors, more continuity issues. The comics and the books, what's the point in reading them? There's a chance they could get overwritten by a movie or a TV show down the line. It maybe was nice in the early days that the EU was getting acknowledged in the Disney canon with these little cherry-picked ideas. I think the more you dive into it and think about it, it's insulting that they basically just scraped it off the plate, and then they're like, oh wait, maybe I actually wanted that, and this, and Thrawn, and Revan. It's just stupid. There's also been a huge collector-driven revival of EU merchandise. Figures like Kyle Katarn, the Black Series, is getting re-released. Prince Xizor, Starkiller, Delta Squad from the Republic Commando game. I think it was the first EU character that we got in Black, because we've gotten Revan, Jaina Solo, and I think we have Jedi Revan as well. We're slowly getting more EU Black Series, which is fantastic. I hope they continue. And that's not all. We have games getting re-released or maybe even remastered, like the Dark Forces remaster, or KOTOR and KOTOR 2 being ported to new consoles, Republic Commando, Jedi Knight and Jedi Academy getting ported to new consoles, and even Jedi Power Battles getting a port as well. I think all of this is just a recognition that these stories mean a lot to people. And so I think it's good that we're getting all these re-releases and people can still get into the EU. It's not hard to get a hold of a new Star Wars EU book. You can go to the bookstore and get EU stuff on the shelf. Yes, you might have to settle for the ugly Essential Legends collection cover, but you can go to the store and buy it. This is where us, the fans, come in. We have been the ones who keep the EU breathing. There are unresolved storylines and character arcs from the EU that it would be nice to get solved. That's where fan fiction comes in. The re-expanded team, for example, has been producing continuation material, stories, character expansions, lore timelines, and structured editorial projects that build respectfully on existing continuity. There are also full-cast fan audiobooks of out-of-print novels, and even fan comic dubs of various comic books on YouTube, lore wiki restorations correcting years of errors, galaxy map expansion projects that chart EU sectors the films never touched, fan remasters of old RPG source books, mods to various games, putting in EU characters and events in Star Wars games and even non-Star Wars games, animated fan adaptations of EU comics and other stories on YouTube, music composition projects, scoring various EU scenes that never had an official soundtrack. All this, it is a continuation. Yes, some people aren't a big fan of fan fiction because for some, fan fiction is basically weird romantic fantasies. Some fan fiction actually tries to tell stories that would fit into the universe and not tell weird romantic fantasies. So where does that leave the EU now? Well, it's not continuing, and unfortunately, it's been almost 10 years since Marvel 108. That was actually new EU material, but unfortunately, this point in time, I don't think the EU will continue. We don't want much, just a few novels and maybe a comic book series a year. That would be good. At least at first, focusing on resolving character arcs and storylines that didn't get an official ending. If we got all of that, or I think that would be enough, because then we could end it. The EU didn't end when the publishing stopped, because we the fans have kept it going, kept it alive. Yes, there's no new stories, but we're getting people interested in reading the EU, especially where Disney canon is faltering. The EU is a living history, and fortunately for us, the story isn't over if we don't want it to be. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing, and letting me know what your favorite aspect of the EU is, or what aspect of the EU, if you're new to the EU, would you want to delve into. And with that, thanks for watching.